Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Thursday, May 16th, 2019. Attacks on women's reproductive rights are happening across the country, not just in Alabama. Missouri passed their law today as well. The question is, what happens next? We'll break that down on today's show. Civil rights organizations are coming to the aid of Crystal Mason, the black woman jailed for voting in Fort Worth, Texas. We'll talk to her attorney about their appeal case. Senator Kamala Harris makes it perfectly clear Joe Biden could make a great running mate for her as her vice president. Let me show the video. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley takes on so-called black identity extremists. She says it's the FBI's fake excuse for monitoring civil rights groups. Studies have shown that black girls are punished more often and more severely than any other race. We'll talk about why. And Hair Love is a book that teaches children to love themselves and their magical black hair. We'll talk with author Matthew Cherry and illustrator Vashti Harrison. Also, some more crazy-ass white people decided to have Thug Day at school. What the hell are y'all teaching y'all children? And plus, The Intruder is, of course, doing well at the box office, starring Michael Ealy and Megan Good. We'll hear from both of them as well. And we got to have a family conversation, Black Hollywood, about y'all hiring non-black publicists who want to ignore black media on the red carpet. Trust me, I got something to say to all of y'all in Black Hollywood. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah, it's Uncle Roro, y'all. Yeah, it's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Yesterday, Alabama, today, Missouri, both following in the footsteps of Ohio and Georgia, passing restrictive abortion bills. The question is, what happens next? What they're doing is they want the Supreme Court to weigh in on these cases in a desperate way. The white conservative evangelicals always wanted Roe v. Wade to be overturned since it was enacted in 1973, and as a result of these laws, they are hoping the Supreme Court will hear one of these laws and take it up. The question is, what is going to happen legally? Joining us right now is Janice Mathis, Executive Director for the National Council of Negro Women. Also on our panel, we have Dr. Greg Carr, Chair of the Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University. We also have, of course, Erica Savage Wilson, host, Savage Politics Podcast, and Mustafa Santiago Ali, former Senior Advisor for the Environmental Justice at the EPA. Janice, I want to go to you. You're a lawyer as well. This is what they have been gearing up for quite some time. I have been telling black people that these battles were happening on the state level. When you saw what took place in 2010 with Democrats losing big on the congressional level, they also lost significant seats on the state level, gubernatorial mansions and state legislatures. Now we're seeing it. We saw ALEC, we saw Stand Your Ground, we saw voter ID bill. But this issue here is one that is tops. And so Alabama, Missouri, Georgia, Ohio, we can expect to see others. They want to force the Supreme Court with 5 conservative justices to strike down Roe v. Wade.
I think you have to go back to really understand this, Roland. Go back to Anthony Kennedy's replacement. Anthony Kennedy was a swing vote. He was the pivot point around.
He was conservative, but
he could pivot.
Moderate, yes.
He could pivot, depending on what the issue was. His appointment of his replacement has now made it 5-4 in the other direction. And if Roberts does not vote to save Roe, it's probably gone. I think, though, it's important to note that maybe Alabama went too far. The law is so extreme that the court may be tempted to, for the reputation of the court's sake, not because they want to save women or save health care,
right,
but because when you start talking about jailing doctors and doctors and physicians who perform abortions can get decades in prison. Now you've gone what we would call in the law overbroad.
Hell, Pat Robertson.
Say you've done too much.
When Pat Robinson says you've gone too far,
Then you've gone too far.
damn. Of all people.
And so we'll just see. Of course, now, there have been other instances where the court was willing to go too far. Bush v. Gore. They went too far then. People, I never shall forget, we were on the phone, smart lawyers telling me, oh no, the Supreme Court will never take that case up because the Supreme Court doesn't side local election matters. But they decided that one. So it's
And limited their ruling just to that
said
case.
it has no precedential value.
Erica,
So we'll see.
Erica, the thing that was interesting about this whole back and forth, if you look at public opinion, a majority of Americans say leave Roe v. Wade where it is. People view this as a personal decision. When you look at Alabama, not just jailing doctors, but literally refusing to even have rape or incest included in that. You have people out there, conservatives like Matt Walsh and others, who have been getting blasted on social media saying, how dare you can be for this. I've had people who were criticizing me because I've said, oh, how can you call yourselves pro-life but you support the death penalty? And then, of course, some conservative, they retweeted it. And so all these trolls start coming at me. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm just repeating what the Catholic Church said. But the opinion of the Catholic Church is they are absolutely against abortion, but they're absolutely against the death penalty. And what you have here is you have people who call themselves pro-life, but in fact, they're not pro-life because they got no problem putting folks to death.
Absolutely. And then they absolutely have no problem with oppressing black and brown people. So the way that we look at it broadly is to say that this is about women's bodies, but then at the same time, who are the people that we are not only electing, but then that we are also funding their campaigns that do stand with those people who really are scared of the browning of America. They do want to have some sense of control over population as well to ensure that the majority that is rising doesn't rise it has been reported to raise. And so for me, I think that this is really an opportunity for everyone to get more involved with state legislators, and then also to understand that though these bills have been passed at the House levels in the states, that they have not been passed overall broadly. So there is still time for people to engage, for people to fund the ACLU and other organizations that are taking these states, that are taking these people to task, that are really trying to take away precedents that's been set for over 40 years now.
Greg Carr, what people don't understand is that Republicans love to talk about small government, getting government out of our lives. But the reality is these are the same people in Alabama who passed a law that says city councils cannot take down Confederate statues. Same thing in North Carolina, same thing in Virginia. And so I call, even on issues like this, my pastor calls it situational ethics. They have situational faith. They have situational values. Where again, it's always, oh no, it's local until we have power, and then we're going to make it perfectly clear that since we have power, we're going to tell y'all what to do.
Yes, the scholar Marimba Ani refers to it as rhetorical ethic. They just say anything to get what they're after. They're going to push this federal experiment called the United States of America until it finally breaks. That's what's going to happen. John Roberts has a decision to make. I agree with you, Janice. Is there going to be judicial legitimacy for the federal judiciary? Where they've already picked up almost a quarter of all the lower court federal judges in the past 2 years. Is there going to be respect for a federal judiciary nationwide, or are they going to go for this paragraph? This is absolutely coordinated. You mentioned ALEC. This is being coordinated. Of course, Alabama's the overreach. They're going to test the outer limits. But we'll know as soon as Monday whether or not they're going to hear the challenge to this Indiana law, which has a couple of troublesome provisions, and you've got one coming up from Louisiana. They'll certainly probably hear this. You only need 4 votes on the court to allow to them to hear a case. They set their own docket. Justice McConnell, also known as Neil Gorsuch, is in a trio with Alito and Clarence Thomas, who said recently that there are 2 bad decisions Roe versus Wade, and Dred Scott. So this is about stare decisis as well. This is set law, 50 years. If you attack this, John Roberts is going to have to choose. Either he's going to go with the theocracy of Mike Pence and the other these rhetorical ethicists, or they're going to create a situation where this country is going to fraction beyond recognition, because some states you're going to be able to terminate a pregnancy and others you won't. And then you see states saying, you turn that megabus around from Georgia, you're not coming into Virginia to terminate your pregnancy.
Well, in fact, Mustafa, Georgia's law penalizing you if you cross state lines. Yep. What you also have here, and I really need people to understand this, which is why so many of our people have got to stop watching mainstream media who refuses to really properly put this in context. This thing goes beyond just the abortion laws. You deal with the issue of abortion. You look at voter ID. You look at voter suppression. You look at the attacks on civil rights. What you have here, you have a clear design of a political party who knows that they are a largely white party. They know that we are 24 years away from becoming a nation majority of people of color. So what they are doing is they are trying to cement, put in place the infrastructure that goes beyond 2043, put in place the infrastructure that will keep them at the levers of power for an additional 20 to 30 years. So now we're talking about 2063. Now we're talking about 2073. And because they see what's going on, they see African Americans, Latinos, Asians, Native Americans. They see, the story came out the other day about the birth rate being the lowest in 32 years. The whole deal with illegal immigration. All of this is really about how do we lock in place this power where we maintain control of the court system, we maintain control of the laws, and I'll throw in before you answer, even the gerrymandering case that's before the Supreme Court, which is why Kennedy was also huge, because he said there may be a legal reason for us to step in. If this Supreme Court allows gerrymandering, it will allow Republicans to draw these crazy lines to continue to maintain supermajorities in Florida, in North Carolina, in Alabama, in Mississippi. We can go down the line. That's really what's happening here.
Without doubt, it's about power and it's about hypocrisy. All we got to do is look at South Africa and how people stayed in power for hundreds of years.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You